Production funding for Living Smart with Patricia Gras is underwritten in part by Halliburton.
Have you ever wondered why you feel more at peace around nature? Learn why learning about the environment can help you connect better with yourself and others. Next on Living Smart.
Hello, I'm Patricia Gras. Welcome to Living Smart, the show designed to help you get the most out of life. Today's guest, educator, builder, former therapist, and permaculturist Cath Conlon, is the founder of the Blackwood Land Institute, an oasis north of Houston where visitors can bond with the land and learn about nature's wisdom. Cath teaches us why, by saving the planet, we save ourselves. Have pen and paper ready. We'll be giving you a list of resources at the end of the program.
It's all about doing the right thing.
For Cath Conlon, this road leads to her mission, creating a community which cares for itself and the environment.
We only can care about those things that we spend time with, and I spend a lot of time outside and on the land and on the farm.
Cath runs the Blackwood Educational Land Institute 45 minutes northwest of Houston, a 23-acre living classroom named after her Native American grandmother, where people of all ages come learn about themselves and their surroundings. Today she welcomes the middle school class of a Montessori school.
What happens here deals with environmental issues, social justice issues, health, and spirit.
By this spring-fed pond, Cath remembers what used to be.
I think it's important to live with a piece of land for a while before you start putting things together. And there was nothing here when I first came. There was no road, no water, no electricity, no gardens. There was nothing.
That was in 1990. It took her years of hard work and collaborations from visitors under her guidance to go from barren pasture to rich earth and the productive working farm it is today.
To rake across the soil, and it just uproots any weeds.
Once a psychotherapist and the owner of her own environmentally friendly building group, her life took a radical turn when she was diagnosed with tumors and cysts which threatened her life and changed her focus.
I'm really going to make a concerted effort to heal my body, and I don't think you just heal it in one way. Part of that is being in a place of beauty, a part of that is being in a healthier place where you could talk about naturally grown foods, because the foods that you eat affect how you think and how well you can run.
Cath and everyone who visits here, young and old, eats the food from the organic garden. In 1993, she became a permaculture designer and later a master gardener. Both aim to create a sustainable human habitat by following nature's patterns.
We actually started not with this particular garden, but with some smaller gardens around, just as a way to begin to build community between the students that were coming. Got people coming and working together. You're interdependent.
When students come here, they all work to plant, fix, or enjoy something. And to make the experience last longer, in 1996, Cath built a 5,000 square foot environmentally friendly straw bale house with high insulation properties to conserve energy. Today it's surrounded by a greenhouse, spiral gardens, a water harvesting and solar heating systems, and a chicken coop.
And so we like to bring in new terms for people, and one term that we use a lot with chickens is tessellate, which means stacking functions. So with chickens, we get meat from them, we get eggs from them, we get feathers. They scratch the earth, they aerate the ground so it will absorb fertilizer better, and they provide fertilizer for us, and they provide song. So there's 6 things that they give us.
Within a year of her diagnosis, she healed herself and credits the land for her recovery. Now she wants others to learn to take care of the land for their own good.
It's really about listening with a different type of ear to what Mother Nature has to say. You know, there's a lot that we have to learn from nature that will make our life as we know it more comfortable and more sustainable.
To continue her mission outside this living, learning environment, Cath created the annual Texas Bioneers, or Biological Pioneers Environmental Conference.
What I might suggest is you make a depression, a depression, a depression, a depression, and work on a pack at a time. To be able to talk about all of the major issues that we have to face, that we're facing today around community, around environment, around social justice, around health, and around spirit, because it's all about solutions. And that's what Blackwood's about as well.
Thank you for joining us, Cath Conlon. It's great to have you here.
Thanks.
In the studio.
Pleasure.
The first question I'd like to ask you is, we see young and old at the Institute, and I spend the day there and I felt the difference. What kind of transformations do you notice in people when they leave the Institute?
Well, from the time that they come till the time that they leave, there's just a sense of calm, a sense of unraveling of a very tight fabric as their busy lives or chaotic lives come together. So there's just a great sense of calm, a release.
That's wonderful.
Breathing.
Right, just even breathing, the oxygen. Montessori is one of the many different schools and organizations and people who come to the Institute. There's something about Montessori educational way of teaching and philosophy that you're attracted to. What is it?
Well, because it's very holistic. They have a great sense of order. They have a respect and reverence for the land innately. I mean, it's just a part. They bring it in. It's not something that I had to convince them to do.
Right.
It's not something I had to talk them into doing at all. It was already a part of their framework and their teaching.
What do you want people to take home once they leave? I mean, some people come just once in a lifetime. What do you want to leave them with, besides the peace?
I want them to leave empowered to make a difference in their own lives, whether it's their own independent life, or it's the life of their family, or it's the life that they have with their school system. To know that they can make a difference in their own backyard or their own school backyard, such as they could harvest the water off of the roof of their school and use that water for irrigating their gardens.
Right.
And then in turn, they're going to eat that food.
Right, right. And I was going to ask you, what are some of the things that they can apply in their daily lives? And that's one example.
That's one huge example,
Right.
because about 60% of all of our water bills are delegated towards landscaping. So if we harvest as much of that water as we possibly can and use it for landscaping rather than going into our irrigation, our city water, it would just be a savings. And it also connects us to the land, and I think that's one of our biggest lessons, is the connection.
And water is going to be a major issue in the future.
It is a major issue today.
Even today. So learning to conserve water even on your daily life is very important. You talk about, and what you do also has to do with sustainability. That's a philosophy that you care a lot about. What do people need to know about that?
Well, I guess the easiest thing for me to relate back to, there's a school building here in town at the University of Texas Medical School, their nursing building. It's a LEED certified building, which means for them, they brought in all of the materials for building that building within a 500-mile radius. And when you do that, it means that they bought the materials from more local sources. Right. It means that money wasn't spent on transportation. It means that a lot of time wasn't lost in waiting for materials to come in from across the country. It means that possibly, not just possibly, but more than likely, many of those materials were recycled, so they were saved from the landfill. It reconnects us to our place.
Right, where we live, being part of the community. Is that what Holistic Design Systems is about? Is that what they did at UT?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So you take that holistic approach and keep it within the community.
Right.
Your grandmother was a Native American.
Great grandmother.
And you learned from her a lot about the love for the land. And tell me about why we should be honoring and looking at Native American culture and the way it has dealt with nature throughout the centuries, and why they, have such reverence for nature. What can we learn from them?
Well, for them, it was their home. Many of them didn't have a roof over their head.
They didn't have doctors that they called on, so they had to learn how to live in community. And a part of, we talked, or we will, if we haven't already, talked a little bit about permaculture. But permaculture is about using our materials that are right here at hand, which means you have to get to know about it. You have to get to know it personally and intimately.
Right. There are 3 core values in permaculture, and one of them is the fairness concept. Tell me about that, and why is that important? To be fair?
Well, I'm still always going to go back to the word connection, because we're all connected, we're all relatives, we're all friends with each other, this is our collective community that we live in. So fairness, I mean, that's something we want to share with everyone.
So that's when we talk about fair trade, that's part of it.
Exactly.
Is respecting other cultures and what they have to do to
right.
cultivate. And the other 2 are people values, and I can't remember the second one. Tell me about that, because permaculture also has a lot to do with zoning, and you have 5 zones in your institute.
Well, it's everywhere. The core values, I mean, we want to care about people because they're a part of the community. Zoning really, well, you can zone your office, you can zone your car, you can zone a big piece of land. And within the permaculture framework, they really have 5 zones, and one for you might be your studio, where you spend a lot of time. Zone 5 might be an area that you never go to.
Right.
And one other zone that we have added to it, the folks that I work closely with and teach closely with, is Zone 0, which is what's in our own heart.
Okay.
That's a big. If you don't include your own heart, you're missing a huge part of the whole.
It goes back to being connected. Let's talk about the straw bale house, because you have built, I understand, not only that you build the one at the Institute, but you've built 28 around the country. And yet we don't have, I think yours is the only one in Houston, in the Houston area. There's a lot in Austin. What are the advantages of a straw bale house? I had never heard of it before.
Well, straw bale could be a trash product. It would be sent to the landfill if it wasn't being used. And we're talking about straw and not hay. And so straw has a very high insulation property, has about an R60. And most of the houses that we live in normal construction, whether it's brick or stone or wood or even metal, your insulation property might start at an R30. By the time you've lost a lot of your air pockets, it's down to about an R19. And the straw bale holds its insulation, and it's about an R60. So whereas we would have needed, for Blackwood, we would have needed a 5-ton unit to heat or cool it, we only needed a 1.7. So that's one thing that's good about it. The other one is that we keep materials from going to the landfill. The other one is that it's a very malleable product. It's easy for women to work with. You've got rounded edges. It's got a very feminine touch to it. Another part of it, as I mentioned, the energy saving with heating and cooling. It's beautiful.
And you being an artist, it really is an artful place. It's really, why aren't there more like this? If this is an environmentally smart thing to do, why aren't there more homes like this?
Well, first of all, it's not a new concept. It's been around. The first straw bale house was built in the United States in 1904 in Nebraska, and it's still up and standing today. But mostly it's not built in Houston because a lot of people don't see that it's something that can be built quickly, and it's not something that maybe can stand up to humidity is a big question. But I think mostly it's not, there's no building code. And if there's no building code for it, then you can't build it. There's a building, the only city in the state of Texas that has a building code for straw bale is Austin.
Okay, and how do these stand up to hurricanes, for example, which is a concern?
Well, there's 2 ways to build. Hurricanes, yes, are big concerns. There are 2 ways to build. There's Nebraska style, which I would not recommend for this part of the world because it's just stacked bales of straw with the trusses laid on top in the roof. But post and beam, which is what Blackwood is, I mean, it's just as strong as anything else. You've got your hurricane straps and everything there, so it's a very strong building.
Okay.
So I'm not concerned about that.
Tell me about, you obviously have adults coming and the elderly coming to the Institute, but you told me how important it is to start with the kids. How do you teach the kids to have a healthy relationship with nature? In a time that we live in, where everything is just so, you know, it's a throwaway society. We throw everything away.
Well, if you get to know something very well, you start to care about it. And so they spend a lot of time outside in the garden, in the fields, walking down the roads, in the woods, on the labyrinth, in the pond, with people that are really bright and smart and intelligent and creative. We bring in engineers from around the state. We bring in people that are hydrologists. We bring in people that are pond ecologists. We bring in people from, you know, professionals from all walks of life. Yes. And so they spend time with them. But they're not just spending time with them in a classroom. They're spending time with them in an outdoor classroom. So they're actually creating a part of their curriculum. And they live with it.
Right, right. Now, you have an organic garden in the Institute, and you support... let's buy from local growers. Why is that important?
Again, because it connects us to place. That's one thing. The other thing is that if we buy from local farmers or gardeners, our food is not being transported. And when it's being transported long distance, there are things that are done to the food in order for it to have a longer shelf life. So if we buy close to home in our own backyard, we're supporting our neighbors, and it means that our foods are more than likely can be grown organically, which means no pesticides.
And that's part of being an environmentally friendly consumer. What are some of the things people can do in their daily lives to be more environmentally friendly?
Well, you mentioned earlier about your water.
Absolutely. Conserving water. Don't leave that faucet open all the time, yeah.
It actually costs a lot more money, as well as water money, to have lawns than it does to have gardens. So if people would plant more gardens, it doesn't have to be a vegetable garden. It just could be a garden of flowers, or a garden of cactus plants, or a garden of bushes or grasses, you know, tall grasses like purple fountain grass or Muhlenbergia or something like that. I mean, you could plant gardens full of grasses instead of something that you have to cut all the time.
Interesting.
So that would be a very environmentally friendly thing to do, because it would leave a lot of habitat for animals to come in.
Right.
And I'm not talking about the creepy crawly guys that we don't want in the house. I'm talking about, you know, wildlife habitat. Bring in our birds.
Like what we saw in your institute, those
Exactly.
beautiful shots. You're also a proponent, obviously, of organic foods, and one of the reasons is chemical fertilizers. I think most people don't know really what chemical fertilizers do to the soil.
Well, when they put fertilizers into the soil, it cannot help but go into the food. I mean, it just becomes a part of it. And so the natural microbes that are in the soil they're locked up when the chemical fertilizers are put in. And so the vegetables no longer have access to those natural microbes that are there. And we need that.
And that helps, you know, it's anti-cancer properties
Exactly.
and all the healthy properties of organic foods.
Exactly.
Turning point, a major turning point in your life was the Bioneers.
Yes.
You attended a conference. Something happened to you. What put fire in your belly?
It did. It lit my hair on fire.
By the way, the Bioneers are biological pioneers, correct?
Exactly, yes. And the conference originated by Kenny Ossobel and Nina Simon in San Francisco, in San Rafael, California, in 1990. And what lit my hair on fire about it was because it is about the things that I care so desperately about. But it's not about pointing out what all the problems are. It's about educating us about what all the problems are. But it's about following with solutions. Because we have just as much reason for hope and inspiration and dreams as we do anything else.
And share with me some of those creative solutions and innovative solutions. I mean, these are people from all over the country coming with, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Share with me some of those stories, because they're amazing.
It is. It's very exciting. There's a woman by the name of Janine Benyus, and she is a biomimicry scientist. And so one of the things you asked earlier, we talked about one of the latest things that I'd heard about biomimicry, is that when you see whales flying through the ocean, swimming through the ocean, they're traveling at enormous speed. And they have these bumps on their torso and on their fins.
Right.
Well, some of the airplane companies right now are experimenting with putting similar bumps on the planes, the torsos and the wings, and it's decreased their fuel usage by 35%.
Amazing.
And there are many, many other samples just like that, or examples and stories to be told about biomimicry. That's one of them. Another one would be Paul Stamets. I mean, he studies mushrooms and how mushrooms can clean up contaminated soil areas, land remediation. You can put out mushroom spores and they will suck up a lot of the toxins that are there. And you would think that those mushrooms then are toxic, but they actually separate those chemical entities that we couldn't separate and then disperse them out into the atmosphere.
Amazing.
It is. It's absolutely amazing.
And this happens every October in the United States. There are Bioneer conferences all over the United States in October.
The main conference is in San Rafael, California, and then there are 15 satellite sites. And Houston is fortunate enough to be one of those satellite sites. And so we have our local plenary speakers and then breakout sessions around that, and then we pipe in from California the national speakers. Mm-hmm. So we have, there's a lot of professional folks, there's a lot of gardeners, there are a lot of writers, there are women on women's issues, people from oil companies. I mean, it's really an opportunity for people from all walks of life to come together in a safe container so that you get to talk about the pros and cons, so that you give enough information to our community or individuals so that they can make up their own mind about how they feel about something.
In a time where we're so afraid, frankly, we're afraid of hurricanes.
Yes.
We know pollution is way out of hand. We know global warming. It's controversial, but some people agree there is global warming. And I guess my question is there hope? It seems so overwhelming to us. Mm-hmm. Is there hope?
I believe there's hope in everything, yes, yes. And we all make those decisions for ourselves in terms of where we're going to find our hope. And I think we're going to find our hope right here. I mean, we are powerful people, and we are a powerful city. And we have it with Mayor White, on board today. I mean, he's a very strong proponent of doing what's right. In terms of our hurricane season, I think we have to listen. And there are lots of ways to listen.
What do you mean, listen?
We're given warnings about what's happening with our environment.
You mean nature's telling us, hey, pay attention.
Nature's telling us. Plus, I mean, we've got incredibly sophisticated tools that hurricane meteorologists read and give us that information. But I understand that when we were getting the information last year about Hurricane Rita, we didn't really believe that it was coming and that anything was happening. So it's about knowing your neighbors. It's about having routes to get to safe places. It's about knowing where your food's going to come from. And a lot of that might be growing your own food. Mm-hmm. And knowing that it's not fertilized, so that we don't need our doctors as much as we are needing them today. I'm not saying there's not a place for doctors, because there definitely is a place for doctors, but there's also such thing as living in a way that prevents us from getting sick.
Like what? Eating the right food, eating organic foods? I mean, what do you mean? Being at peace with nature, being more connected with nature?
Yes, about walking, about getting your exercise, about releasing or relieving yourself of some of the stresses in life. Those things really cause us to not be as well. And when we're not as well and as healthy, that's when disease starts creeping in.
How do you know you're living smart?
How do I know I'm living smart? Well, I feel more alive today and more connected today than what I think I ever have.
Do you think that what healed you was that connection with nature? That reconnection with nature? Because we're all connected, but maybe we don't know it.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, sure.
It was
that was
connection.
A big part of it, yes, a big part of it. And learning how to be quiet and learning how to have that downtime. That was a challenge. It is a challenge still for me, for a lot of... When there are teachers that bring their students to Blackwood, one of the things that they ask, that the teachers ask for more than anything, is please give us relaxation tools. That's what we need, that's what our students need, are relaxation tools.
Is that how you reconnect with nature?
That's a big part of it, yes.
Just being quiet and just listening to it.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Learning from it.
Nature's not quiet at all.
Nature warns us one way or the other.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Cath Colon, for joining us.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. And you can reach Cath Conlon at the Blackwood Educational Land Institute at 832-721-4711. That's 832-721-4711. Or check their website at blackwoodland.org. blackwoodland.org. That's blackwoodland.org. For more information on the Bioneers Conference, you can check also Cath's website, but also for the national website, it's bioneers.org. That's bioneers.org. Please remember to visit our website, houstonpbs.org/livingsmart, for a complete resource list, and feel free to share your own views on caring for the land and what you do to be more environmentally friendly. You can call us with your comments at 713-743-8513 or email livingsmart@houstonpbs.org. And that's our show for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Remember to live smart. I'm Patricia Gras. Have a great week.